You don't know what corruption means. Corruption to you means something I don't like. Corruption to you means something I don't like. I don't think that Fox News was corrupt. They were obviously biased, but that's not corruption. Corruption doesn't mean they're doing something I dislike and I think that that's bad. I don't care. I'm giving you an example of what I'm saying isn't corrupt, but something I disagree with. Give me an example of corruption. Very interesting. Very interesting. Oh man, that's pretty rough. Getting caught that red-handed. The fact that you can see the failure of the corporate media and the Biden regime, whether it's them downplaying urban crime and supporting bail reform, the Federal Reserve scams, the entire COVID regime, opening the borders. What my biggest trigger when I started streaming was people just throwing buzzwords at me. It was just, I can't stand hearing constant buzzwords thrown my way. At a certain point, it's just annoying. At a certain point, I don't want to even respond, because why would I respond? How many times do I have to respond to the same talking point? Those aren't buzzwords. Literally everything that you said, from the failure of the corporate media to the failure of the Biden regime, downplaying urban crime and supporting cash bail reform, the Federal Reserve scams, the entire COVID regime, opening the borders, general corruption. Literally every single thing that you brought up were just buzzword, like, ooh, look at me. I obviously am a conservative. Those are all things the corporate media have supported. What is corporate media to you? Shouldn't you be linking proof to like literally any of the claims that you're making? Like, is any of that like important to you? Like, for me personally, libertarians in the context of like the United States are conservatives. Okay, sorry. Cope. Using regime unironically is cringe as hell when talking about liberal democracies. Yes, I know. I hate it when the rad libs on MSNBC do it about Trump. I hate it when Trumples do it about Biden. Pro-regime press. So is Fox News pro-regime? Because they criticize Biden, but they're the biggest corporate media organization in the United States. So you said MSNBC, like CNN. CNN would make a ton of money if they find a negative story about Biden and run with it. Well, Biden. CNN has gotten a lot more centristy in the past couple of years than they used to be. Do you see the recent Dave Smith, Chris Cuomo debate? No, and I don't care. Once again, like, I don't even know how to describe it, because like it feels so intuitive to me that like when you use certain language, you're obviously going in a certain direction with it, right? Like regime brings up, thoughts of like dictatorship and authoritarianism, evilness, regime, a despotic regime. You can say, oh, I'm using it in a neutral way, but you're not. It is the language that you're using that is very obviously, slanted in a certain direction. Yeah. And we haven't even gotten to the idea of like the alt media being any better. Have the institutions not in uniform been plagued not only by corruption, but downright incompetence? No. In fact, the only like credible corruption things that we've seen have been individual lawmakers in the Senate, in, Congress, individuals like that. And there haven't even been that many. And then basically anyone attached to Trump. If you want to look at actual corruption, I want him to provide proof of literally anything that he's saying. I think that our institutions have been profoundly competent for basically everything that you're talking about. Profoundly competent, especially under Biden, who, even though he's an old, senile, dementia-riddled 89-year-old old, he's still able to recognize good, competent people around him, surround himself with those good, competent people, and actually get shit done, which Trump was not able to do. If there's not downright corruption, why hasn't Fauci been locked behind a jail cell for the rest of his life? Has there been an investigation into Fauci whatsoever? Does anybody know? Because I don't know off the top of my head. Has Fauci been investigated for anything? But the universities, give me an example of university corruption. Give me examples of the federal government being corrupt, the courts being corrupt. Check DMs. I don't want to watch a debate between the Dave Smith guy and Chris Cuomo. I don't want to watch it. I don't care right now. I want you. Wait, you're saying this is an example of media corruption? This is a debate about COVID lockdowns. Give me an example of what you mean by corruption. Give me an example of what you mean by corruption then. What does media corruption mean? That they focus on things that you disagree with? That they don't focus on things that you think that they should? Is that corruption? No. Chris Cuomo had a job at CNN despite lying about the sexual exploits of his brother. And that's why he got fired at the end of the day. So give me an example of what you mean by corruption. They're literally having him testify about the pandemic. Oh, so if there is any corruption, I'm sure that the Republican-led, Congress is going to find that corruption, just like they held Hunter Biden to task and tried to find some corruption with him, but they weren't able to. They were able to find a bunch of foreign actors, that were giving us foreign lies about our own president, and they were willing to run with that because they're a bunch of foreign corrupt politicians themselves. Okay, well, I said that I was going to not get one guide by Lil Man today, so you don't know what corruption means. Corruption to you means something I don't like. Corruption to you means something I don't like. I don't think that Fox News was corrupt when they were sitting there sucking the every iota of cum from Trump's balls for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. I don't think that they were corrupt for that. They were obviously biased, but they weren't corrupt for that. They were just biased. But that's not corruption. Corruption doesn't mean they're doing something I dislike and I think that that's bad. I don't care. I'm giving you an example of what I'm saying isn't corrupt, but something I disagree with. Give me an example of corruption. That doesn't just mean, oh, I disagree with this thing. Give me an example of corruption. You have 5 minutes. Don't say another goddamn thing. Don't say another goddamn thing in chat. Find me an example of corruption from the media. If you say something else without either telling me to look at DMs because you can't link it in Kick Chat or link itself in Kick Chat until I get an example of what media corruption is to you. Wait, hold on. He gave me something. And a Breitbart. You know what? We'll roll with it for right now. Let's see what the claims from Breitbart, which, might I add, let me just go to Media Bias Fact Check, my favorite website in the world. Let's go ahead and just search up Breitbart. Usually I would just ban you for linking me anything Breitbart related. Extreme right-wing bias with mixed factual basis. Overall, we rate Breitbart questionable based on extreme right-wing bias, the publication of conspiracy theories and propaganda, as well as numerous false claims. Please stop. But let's just see what the information is. Let's just go through it. Ex-Intel officials don't regret suggesting Hunter's laptop was Russian disinformation. I also, when I first heard about it, said it sounded like some fake bullshit. You know why people thought it was fake bullshit? Because people said that Hunter Biden went to some random computer repair shop with a bunch of sensitive information on it about his life, with his dick pics, with all of this shit on it, left it there for like a year and a half or some shit, only for the blind computer repair salesman to pass it off to Giuliani and Trump people for an October surprise. So yeah, that does sound like Russian disinformation. It sounds like a bullshit story. I'm sorry. If you think that that at all sounds like on its face that a blind computer repair salesman happened to have the computer of the president, or I'm sorry, future president of the United States, a blind computer salesman had the computer of the son of the future president of the United States, and then it showed massive, it had all this information on there showing that he was, using his dad's name to get one up in the world of business. Yeah, I would probably think that that was bullshit because it sounded like bullshit. All right, let's listen to it. Or I'm sorry, let's read this. Not a single one of the signatories of the infamous spy letter that called reporting on Hunter Biden laptop Russian disinformation ahead of the 2020 election has retracted their made-up claim, according to a report. Wait, which parts of this are the... Is this part of the story, or is this... Sorry, with the different fonts, I can't really quite tell what isn't... Okay. The signatories, numbering 51 in total, apparently knew the claim was false at the time. I want to see that substantiated because the FBI was in possession of Hunter's laptop. That doesn't mean that all 51 of these people worked at the FBI at the time and that they were privy to any information about the laptop. Current Secretary of State Antony Blinken allegedly coordinated the story for political purposes. How could he coordinate that without... What was his position before? I actually don't remember what his position in government was before the before he was the whatever you call it, Secretary of State. FBI agent Erica Jensen, a witness in Hunter's gun trial, told the court last week the laptop was real and no tampering occurred with the machine. Jensen's testimony debunked claims that the laptop's data was subject to hacking and manipulation. That's not what the hacking was. Twitter not knowing if it was hacked materials being put out. They didn't know about having a physical laptop. If it was hacked materials, that's why they throttled the story for 24 hours. I don't know about the manipulation claim to help former Donald Trump's 2020 campaign, although they did hold on to it for like, what, a year before putting that out there. So it's not like they were just putting it out there because, it was good for the American people to know. They put it out there because it was going to help Donald Trump on October. The October surprise everyone talks about. I still don't know what media corruption is. Yeah, I'm still waiting for that too. Shortly after Breitbart News' Emma Jo Morris, formerly of the New York Post, first reported the laptop from hell story in October 2020, CNN reporter Natasha Bertrand wrote the infamous and now discredited Politico story that used dozens of former Intel officials to push a false and misleading narrative about the origins of the laptop. Let's see what... Can we just see the actual... Okay, this is the actual story. More than 50 former senior intelligence officials. So they weren't privy to the information that the FBI had. So there was no lie that it was that these guys were selling. They weren't lying. They said it sounds like fake bullshit because it did sound like fake bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. The Post reported it was given a copy of Hunter Biden's laptop hard drive by President Donald Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, who said he got it from a Mac shop owner in Delaware who also alerted the FBI. It's not just that he was a Mac shop owner, it's that he was a blind computer repair guy. What's the explanation for that? Well, I literally just gave you. Because it sounded like fake bullshit. 50 people who were former senior intelligence officials because of the details that were released to the public, said it sounded like bullshit. No, my previous thing? Oh, what's the other thing? Why does Dave Smith and Tucker Carlson talk about it so much? Because they're propagandists. Because they lie to you. What do you mean? Why do they keep on saying this? Because they're lying to you. Because they're putting a spin on it so that you believe a certain thing, so that you think that all of the entirety of the government is wholly against anything conservative, anything Trump related, anything like that. And that Biden is a pedophile, like girl sniffing, evil manipulator that has put his claws into everything to force everyone to stay in their homes for their entire lives, get injected by nanobots into their bloodstream so that they remain munchkin-brained, no IQ drones of the state and continue to increase their hold over the average American's life. That is why they say that, because they are liars. Because there are very easy explanations that have been out there for years. And they still say the exact same thing that they said in October of 2020, even though more information has come out. They do not update their opinions. They get a talking point and they run with it for years and years and years until it is so slammed into your tiny little 16-year-old brain that you literally have no other idea of what reality could be, because everybody says this thing all the time that they're lying to me, they're lying to me, they're lying to me, they're lying to me, but they're not lying to you. You're just getting a separate lie fed to you because it is easy to twist certain angles of any given story. But they're very confident when they talk about it. Yeah, because they say it every single day of their lives to convince and 16-year-olds out there like you. Notice how I separated those two things out. All right? Just because someone's confident doesn't mean that they're right. 90% of the things that I say, I put a lot. I put a lot of now I might be wrong here. I might be wrong here. Notice I say that before almost any big claim that I'm going to make. Notice how often I say, chat, correct me if I'm wrong, because I might be wrong. There might be more information that I'm missing out on. But these guys who are very confident with their opinions are usually the least intelligent people in the entire goddamn world. If you want to look at corruption, maybe look at the fact that Tucker Carlson goes over to Russia expecting to give a softball interview to Putin so that Putin sits there and jerks off the American right with all their culture war things. And Putin just used him as a tool to spread more misinformation. You want to talk about corruption? Maybe look at the far right newspapers in the past couple of weeks, past couple of months that have gotten from state funding all over the place, from Iran, from China, from Russia, from North Korea, to spread fake info, to infest your developing little mind. Every new wrinkle that is developing in your undeveloped tiny little 16-year-old brain, every wrinkle developing is developing in exactly the way they want it to. And that is to be as conspiracy brained as possible. But we don't live in a 007 movie. We don't live in Tom Clancy world where 90% of the world's governments are just trying to turn us into 1984 Oceania. There's easy explanations for almost every single thing that you have questions about all the corruption in the world. There's easy explanations for literally 100% of it. Now, some of those things still might be bad. There might be an easy explanation for a lot of things. That doesn't mean they're not good. I don't think that these guys should have signed a letter telling everyone not to believe this story because they don't have all the information. That's bad. That doesn't speak to media corruption. That doesn't speak to any corruption whatsoever. Biden is the pedo. Meanwhile,
Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison, and so a lot of people want to know if she's going to turn in powerful people. And I know you've talked in the past about Prince Andrew, and you've criticized Bill Clinton's behavior. I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is. I don't know the situation with Prince Andrew. Just don't know. Not aware of it.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
He might not know about it. He might not know about it, but that's a real bad look. He very well might not know about it. But that's just something you say, I don't know anything about it, so I'm going to stay out of it, dude. I don't want to be a conspiracy brain. It's just the media atmosphere around me in the year 2024 is so black-pilled on the institutional trust, I really want to believe what is true. Don't listen to Dave Smith ever again. Don't listen to, like, basically anyone on alt media. Like, read articles from Reuters and AP. Don't even go to the ones that are, like, heavily biased, okay? I'm not telling you to read MSNBC. Just read the factual reporting, the Reuters and the AP. They use the least slanted language. I forget the correct term. They use the least slanted language. They usually aren't, well, unless you're a conservative and you think that everybody is out to get you, they're usually not trying to loaded language. Thank you, Jesus. But just like, again, like you cite all these people like Jordan Peterson. Guess what? He's a spin doctor. He's not as egregious as, some other people. Dave Smith is not a good source of information. He's smart, he's charismatic, but he's not a good source of information. Basically, anytime someone's like main political thrust is talking about media corruption and shit like that, it feels like I'm a Mossad agent telling you to not believe your lying eyes and shit. But like, really, if someone's entire thing is we have media corruption, we have political corruption, they're lying to you. They're lying. They're lying to you. And that is the easiest statement I've ever made in my entire life. Oh, sorry. That shit triggers the absolute shit out of me when I get bombarded with loaded language and talking points that have been repeated a billion times. And I've put in so much effort to know what I know and know what I don't know. Like, I know the things that I don't know, where my limitations are. But these people never admit to any limitation unless they're trying to avoid a question. The government is not out to get you. Guess what? Take your meds. The government's not, watching where you sleep. They're not watching every single interaction that you have. They're not listening to every conversation you have. They're not politically persecuting everyone that believes the same thing as you. We have pretty wide deference to what you can believe in the United States. You can believe basically anything that you want, but you can't start making plans to overthrow the government, and you can't, be part of a terrorist cell or, give comfort or aid to any of those people. But at that point, just tell them to watch Adam and Sitch debating Dave Smith. It exposes him. Oh, shit. I mean, if you want someone that's going to be slanted towards the right, that I would rather you watch them than anyone else in alt media, watch Sitch and Adam. They're conservatives. They say that they're not, but I'm sorry, they are. And I don't even dislike them. I think that they're stupid on some things, right? I think they're even voting for Trump because of Biden's housing plan that he put out there. That was just one of those, it's an election year, I want to put out this statement about reducing housing costs. They changed their entire vote to Trump based off of that one thing, which is just the stupidest shit in the entire world. But they're very honest, at least in terms of the factual basis of things. I don't think I've ever seen them talk about something. I just disagree with them on a factual basis.
My point is, BBD, I hope it's not all talk. How can we hear this? 13 seconds?
Declassified the 9/11 files.
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you?
I did a lot of it.
Okay, something that I've also noticed. Please, someone tell me that I'm wrong. Trump has been going around to people like he's running for school president of a high school in the 80s. Is he not? He's going to the Libertarian conference and saying, If you elect me, I will be putting in so many libertarian things. I will look into getting rid of the Fed. I will, what were all the things that Trump was promising to the libertarians? It to me, it just comes off as vote for me and I'll put cameras in the girls' locker rooms and have soda coming out of the water fountains. Hell yeah. And he's doing that to every single group. To Christians, he's promising one thing. To Jews, he's promising another thing. To the libertarians, he's promising libertarian. He's going, will you declassify all these, conspiracy things? Yeah, I'm going to declassify everything. I'll look into that. Yeah, for sure. Like he's like running for school president, not president of the United States. What are you going to do if Russia starts getting more aggressive? What's like an actual plan from that? Besides, I won't allow any more aggression to build up from these lawless Russian bandits. Like, what is your actual ideas? What are you gonna do? You gonna call them up on the phone and like create world peace with a phone call, Mr. Trump? Why didn't you do that when you were president? Sorry, it's just like it's so weird. He's going around making promises to every single group that are specific to that group, but you can't hold on to all these promises. I don't see Biden doing those sorts of promises to every single tiny little group that aren't already in line with things that he has been doing throughout his presidency.
My point is, PBD, I hope it's not all talk. Can we hear this 13 seconds?
Declassify the 9/11 files.
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
9/11 files. Oh, they still think that 9/11 was an inside job. JFK, they still think that we assassinated our own president, even though there's like fucking zero evidence that points that direction whatsoever. It's just conspiracy brained. And they're making their entire political life uncovering conspiracies from the government that don't exist.
I did a lot of it.
Right, which is why I said I don't think that Biden has given any promises to specific groups that are new promises that weren't already part of his agenda or part of his policy proposals, during the totality of his presidency. And I think there is a meaningful difference there. Like if Biden was going around and telling black people that he was going to, get reparations for them all of a sudden, I would probably criticize the fuck out of that. Like you're pandering like a. And there have been some pandering things that he's done. Don't get me wrong, but it's not on the level of like going to every single group and giving them hyper specific promises that like have no chance of ever getting through Congress. But he's making these promises to people that he knows he won't and cannot keep.
Would you declassify?
Let's see what the edited clip was, and then let's look at the unedited clip.
My point is, PBD, I hope it's not all talk. Can we hear this 13 seconds?
Declassify the 9/11 files.
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
That's crazy. He had to think about that one. He said he'd released the 9/11, the JFK. He said he did a couple. I want to see the rest of them.
I'm super curious if he didn't know what Ghislaine Maxwell was in trouble for. Do you think he actually knows anything about the Epstein stuff? Do you think that everyone's just been keeping him in the dark? Like, oh shit, his name's on there. We don't want him to say some stupid shit. We're just gonna like make sure he never encounters this.
I want to see the rest of them. But with the Epstein, he paused. Is that crazy? I just hope it's not all talk because I want to see that's what I want to see. And I want people to be held accountable.
So that was the edited clip where he said, yeah, I would declassify that.
Here are Trump's unedited recent comments about whether or not he would release classified files about Jeffrey Epstein.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to...
Oh, no. They had to know.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
He says it's phony because his name is also included in the and people don't like to, acknowledge that. But I'm pretty sure his names were also included in the Epstein files that people have leaked. So,
but I think I would.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Oh man, that's pretty rough. Getting caught that red-handed. Well, welcome. For people that are new, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on Kick, I'm Sondsol. I am a political science student. I like to talk about politics. I like to argue about politics. We talk about all sorts of fun things on here, like drama and politics. And I like to argue with people and chat about a lot of different things. Like, comment, and subscribe. I don't like to shill. Also,